João gets up early, as always, to start another day of work. The sound of the alarm clock echoes in the small apartment where he lives with his mother, Helena, who suffers from a chronic illness and requires constant care. The walls of the place, still modest and without many amenities, are a reflection of João's daily struggle. He is a motorcyclist, makes deliveries for a local company, and dreams of opening his own motorcycle parts and accessories store. But each day, the dream seems more distant, crushed by the reality of a system that seems designed to prevent people like him from prospering. As he puts on his leather jacket and helmet, he quickly looks at himself in the mirror. He is a young man, with dark skin, short hair, and a determined expression, but he also carries the weight of a world that often judges him. Before leaving, he kisses his mother on the forehead, who is in bed, weak and tired. She smiles weakly and thanks her son for another day of effort. João gets on his bike and starts his day pedaling through the busy city streets. The job is simple, but the challenges are many. Avoid the hurried drivers, the incessant honking, and of course, the constant presence of the police. He already knows what to expect. On the suburban street where he makes his last delivery before returning home, he is stopped by a police car. The officer in front is a man with a scowl and a suspicious look. João recognizes the officer, Marcos, a veteran of the force, known for being tough and, according to rumors, prejudiced. Before João can explain the reason for his presence there, Marcos tells him to get off the motorcycle. "You're in the wrong place, friend," Marcos says, not hiding the hostility in his tone. "I know what you're doing here." João tries to remain calm, but his heart is racing. He knows what is coming next. Marcos begins to search the motorcycle without saying a word, moving slowly. Then the silence is broken when the police officer finds something suspicious. A package well hidden in the motorcycle's compartment. "I knew it," Marcos says with a sarcastic smile. "You're in the wrong business, friend. You're going with me to the police station." João tries to protest, explaining that he is just a worker, but Marcos pushes him towards the police car, causing the neighbors to look out the window, whisper and shake their heads. The humiliation is instantaneous, and the feeling of helplessness invades João. He did not know it, but this would be the beginning of a fight against a system that did not see him as a human being, but as just another victim. João is taken handcuffed to the police station, unable to understand what is happening. His body is tense, his mind is a storm of thoughts. He tries to remember what he could have done to provoke the approach, but the only thing that crosses his mind is the vision of Marcos, with that superior smile, putting the drugs on his motorcycle. Anger and fear mix, but he can't do anything. He is caught in a trap that seems to have been made for him. The atmosphere in the cell is unbearable. The smell of sweat, the lack of ventilation, and the sound of the other prisoners' voices make the place even more oppressive. João sits on a cement bench, not knowing what to do. He tries to call his mother, but they confiscate his phone. He knows she will be worried because his health could get worse without medication. But what hurts the most is knowing that, once again, he has been treated like a criminal just because of his race and social status. As night falls and the minutes pass, the feeling of helplessness grows. John thinks about the future and fear takes hold of him. How will he prove he is innocent? How will he get a lawyer to defend him? He has no money and his family cannot afford the expenses. He has seen too many people he knows fall victim to the justice system that seems to hold black people accountable, even when there is no evidence. In the early hours of the morning, the police chief enters the cell and throws a newspaper in front of João. The headline screams, "Motorcyclist arrested for drug trafficking in an upscale neighborhood." João's gaze wanders over the words, and he feels a lump in his throat. Not only was he unjustly arrested, but now the entire city believes he is a criminal. His friends, his neighbors, everyone has a distorted version of who he really is. And the worst part is that you can't do anything to change that. No one will believe you. Your mother, unaware of anything, is probably at home, weakened, alone, without the medical care she so desperately needs. The pain in her chest is unbearable, as if her life is slipping through her fingers. With each passing hour, John feels that the possibility of escaping this trap is becoming more and more remote. He begins to wonder if he will ever be able to get out of there, if he can ever regain control of his life. While João moves away from the other prisoners, lost in his own anguish, something happens outside the cell. Ana, a rookie police officer who has just joined the police station, begins to analyze João's case. Her boss, the police chief, went through the process too quickly, just to fulfill a formality. But Ana, always careful and idealistic, notices something strange in the process. He begins to examine the security camera footage from the street where João was arrested. Something about that footage bothers him. The police officer Marcos, who caused the collision, appears in the recording thoroughly searching João's motorcycle. He looks closer and sees the exact moment when Marcos, in disguise, places a package inside the compartment of João's motorcycle. The detail goes unnoticed by many, but not by Ana. She feels a chill when she realizes what is happening. Juan has been framed. Ana tries to remain calm. She already knew Marcos's reputation, but she had no idea he would be so brazen. I knew he wasn't a model of professionalism, but this was much more serious than I thought. He analyzes the documents, checks the arrest data, and João's case looks more and more like manipulation. She couldn't let this go. But how can a rookie police officer do anything in a corrupt system like the police? The urge for justice ignites within her and she begins to make a plan. You can't just turn your back on this mistake. She decides to go and meet João, not knowing if he would believe her or if she could trust a police officer, especially after what happened. When Ana arrives in the neighborhood and asks to see João, the other police officers look at her with suspicion. She's new there, and her position is not yet solid, but she remains firm. She enters the cell and approaches João, who looks at her with a blank expression, as if there is no hope left. "I know what happened to you," Ana says, finally breaking the silence. "And I'm going to help you. They framed you. I saw the security cameras." John looks at her in disbelief. He doesn't know if he can believe it, but the tone of her voice, the determination in her eyes, make him feel a small glimmer of hope. "I know you must be desperate, but you are not alone," Ana adds. "I also have something important to tell you. Your daughter, she needs a bone marrow transplant, and you are the only compatible donor." Ana's words fall like a weight on João, but also like a light. His daughter. The connection between them is immediate and João feels renewed strength to fight. He cannot miss this opportunity to save his daughter, to prove his innocence, but he knows that the path will be difficult. Ana and João meet secretly, away from the eyes of the police, to discuss a plan of action. They know that João's only chance of proving his innocence and avoiding conviction is to expose Marcos and the corruption within the force. The situation is delicate, since Marcos is not only a corrupt police officer, but also someone with a lot of power within the police station. Exposing his crimes will not be easy, and the risk is great for both of them. João, although grateful for Ana's help, finds himself between a rock and a hard place. The only thing that can save his daughter is the possibility of being free and donating his bone marrow. But to do that, he needs to get out of prison. Ana begins to put together a strategy. She knows she needs irrefutable evidence. Security camera footage is a good start, but it's not enough. Marcos has a lot of influential contacts and good coverage of impunity. They need something more concrete. Ana decides she'll dig deeper into Marcos's involvement in drug trafficking. She starts infiltrating internal sources and obtaining reports and records of suspicious transactions. João, in turn, begins to reflect on the risks he is about to face. He never imagined that his life would take this turn, but he knows he has to fight. His daughter, the only thing he truly has in life, depends on him. If he fails now, the pain will be unbearable. He remembers the moments he spent with her, the promises of a better future, and a new determination arises in his chest. He refuses to be defeated. Meanwhile, Anna begins to face increasing pressure within the police station. She realizes that she is being watched and that her superiors are beginning to suspect her behavior. She feels that the situation is going to heat up, but she is willing to go all the way. No matter what happens to her career, she knows that justice must be served. And more than that, she knows that saving the life of Marcos's daughter, even though she is responsible for so many atrocities, is the only way to end this whole cycle of pain and injustice. João and Anna exchange coded text messages, becoming increasingly involved in a plot that, if not executed well, could mean the destruction of their lives. But the fear of failure, the fear of losing the opportunity to save their daughter, drives them to continue. After weeks of secret investigations and clandestine meetings, Anna and João finally have the evidence they need to bring down Marcos and the drug trafficking network he's trying to hide. Anna manages to access confidential documents that prove that Marcos has been involved in drug trafficking for years. In addition, he discovers that he has an accomplice within the police station itself, someone who helps to falsify evidence against innocent people like João. The moment of truth finally arrives. Anna contacts some investigative journalists and decides that if they want to expose Marcos, they will need public support. It is now or never. She organizes a press conference and, with evidence in hand, denounces Marcos and the corruption in the police. The press conference is scheduled for the following afternoon, and the atmosphere of tension increases with each passing hour. João, already aware of what is about to happen, tries to remain calm. He feels torn. The arrest and the humiliation he suffered are still fresh in his memory, but the chance to finally clear his name and save his daughter gives him strength. He prepares to tell his part of the story, but the truth is that he doesn't know what to expect. His life, his reputation are at stake, and the risks are enormous. On the day of the press conference, the streets around the police station are filled with journalists and curious onlookers. Anna and João arrive, surrounded by a wave of nervousness, but also hope. The chief, along with other agents, tries to downplay the situation, but the pressure is too much. Anna makes the complaint live, pointing out Marcos's involvement in drug trafficking, while João is interviewed and tells his version of events, detailing how he was wrongly incriminated. The audience is shocked. Marcos, who has been watching everything from afar, tries to remain calm, but the expression on his face changes when the evidence begins to appear. He tries to deny it, accusing Anna of fabricating the evidence, but the weight of the evidence is undeniable. When one of the journalists mentions the subject of Marcos's daughter, the tension reaches its peak. Anna, without hesitation, reveals something that no one expected. "Your daughter, Marcos, he is on the verge of death. He needs a bone marrow transplant, and João is the only compatible donor." The shock is total. Marcos, seeing his life crumble before his eyes, cannot hide his pain. But he also knows that the truth has been revealed. He tries to resist, but the strength of the public and the media is immense. The community's reaction is immediate. The evidence against him is irrefutable. His empire of corruption will collapse. With Marcos arrested and evidence of his corruption spread throughout the media, the city begins to breathe a sigh of relief. Anna's denunciation and João's bravery expose the true face of the police system, and the pressure on the force intensifies. The officers involved in the corruption scheme are investigated, and changes begin to take shape, albeit slowly. For João, the weight of the injustice he suffered begins to lessen, but the fight is not over yet. He is released, and his record is expunged. The town, which once viewed him with suspicion, now sees him as a hero, someone who defied a broken system and prevailed. But the glory of victory is tempered by the pain of loss and emotional scars. João sees how much his life has changed since that fateful day when he was wrongfully detained. Not only has he lost time, but he has also been distanced from his dreams while in prison. The dream of opening his motorcycle repair shop, which once seemed like a distant goal, now seems more attainable. But the weight of the past still haunts him. His mother, who is finally receiving proper treatment, is slowly recovering. João takes her to an important doctor's appointment, and as he walks with her through the hospital, he feels a wave of gratitude for still having the opportunity to give her and her daughter a better life. His world is still upside down, but he knows he is one step closer to rebuilding everything he lost. Anna, on the other hand, finds herself in a dilemma. She was responsible for exposing the truth, but now she faces immense pressure from within the police force itself. He knows that his career is at risk, but the decision to fight for a fairer system cannot be reversed. She and João, who were once complete strangers, now have something else in common: the desire for justice to prevail. João doesn't want to simply be a victim of the system. He wants to help others, like him, who have fallen into the trap of injustice. He starts to organize a movement to support those who have been wrongly accused, creating a support network for victims of police abuse. He knows that even with the victory, there is still much to be done. The chapter ends with John looking to the horizon, a renewed man, but with the awareness that the fight for justice and human rights is far from over. Now he is an active part of this fight, with a clear purpose: to never be silenced, again, and to always fight for the truth.